So needs discovery is, I suppose, in its simplest form, essential for one main reason, and that is to avoid making assumptions about what your customer, when they walk into your store, pick up the telephone, interact with you online, if you're doing sort of a live chat, is it helps you stop making assumptions around what the customer needs and what the response should be. And assumptions is the killer of good customer experience. I've assessed thousands upon thousands of calls over the years, and my team do currently. We mystery shop many inbound sales call centers here in Australia, and assumptions is the one thing that staff need to stop doing. Now, I understand why that happens, because when you're in the operation, it's very hard to see the forest for the trees. You know, you live and breathe your products and services day to day, and your processes, and there's a repetitious element and transactional element to what you do in terms of volume when you're the one having to service. So it's no wonder that staff fall into the habit of making assumptions around customer needs. And the more experienced you are, the harder it is to resist that. Which is why often so many of the best experiences are with brand new staff who are fresh and really, I suppose, just focused on the individual call and that customer, and I suppose being a bit more present and in the moment. So there's some tricky psychological things there going on in terms of a disconnect between a customer and a staff member, even before the conversation starts. You know, it's one call, one interaction, one visit from a customer, where for the staff member helping them, you know, that's 1 in 50 that day, or, you know, multiply that by how many interactions a week, and let alone a month or over a year. So needs discovery is the way to cut through that, to make every interaction fresh, and for the customer themselves, so they can feel that it is about them, it's tailored to their particular situation. Even if their situation is not necessarily unique or different, it doesn't matter, it's the perception. We all only care about what is our own lives and what your products and services are going to do in terms of enhancing that. We don't actually care about your product, only what that product is going to do for us. And so therefore, the only way to determine what your products and services are going to do for your customers is to have an open conversation. And that's where needs discovery is so critical. And it's the skill of having a conversation. And how do you start a conversation is the hardest part of all. So I'm going to jump into how to give you some examples of how to do that with any inquiry. Because once you master these skills, it doesn't matter what the inquiry is. It's the method of managing a conversation, which is the most important skill. So how do you start a conversation? Now, the first 10, 20 seconds, you've hopefully started to build some trust, rapport with a customer. You've been friendly, warm, vibrant, strong greeting, got the customer's name, you know, made a strong proactive statement of intent and ownership, and then you need to transition into the conversation. This is where, you know, you're now getting stuck into the conversation to try to help this customer. So there is a critical step to kick this off, and that is the management of expectations. And the difference between just jumping into questions versus warming them up is so critical, because that trust doesn't just happen. You know, it builds and build. So if you ask open questions but trust isn't established, then they're not going to give you quality information. The customer will not open up and really tell you the essence of what is important to them, which is a normal behavior as customers. If we don't trust, we tend to keep our cards close to our chest. Now you're up to the point of, okay, now you've got to kick off the needs discovery process. There is an interim step to bridge and transition from the engagement into the discovery. And how you do that, and most staff don't. If you can get this right, it's going to make it so much easier in terms of then the questions that you need to ask. If you just jump into questioning without doing this step of managing expectations, then it's a bit, you've gone too hard too early. And it's like, oh, okay, you're asking me personal questions, but you haven't warmed me up. So this is how you warm the customer up. There's 3 parts. Very, very simple. The first one is tell them the process you're going to use. So what is the process? Well, you're going to discover the customer needs in order to find a solution. And then you're going to check with the customer if that's going to work for them. Yeah, so here's what you do. You tell them. You tell them the sales process you're going to use on the customer before you use it. And that is a powerful, powerful technique that works for the customer because it's full disclosure, full transparency, which is what they want. There's nothing manipulative about it. You're not being the traditional salesperson, which is all about pushing products, pushing services. It's all about you and your need to get the deal done. Yeah, this is a buying process. Flips the traditional sales process on its head. Not sales, it's buying. Your job is to make it easy for the customers to buy from you. And this is where that process starts, by telling them that's what you're going to do. So here's an example. So Mr. Smith, if it's all right with you, I wouldn't mind asking a few questions and finding out a little bit more about what you're looking to do. Yeah, so that's number one. Basically, to paraphrase what I just said, I'm going to discover your needs. Number two, why? What's in it for the customer? Why should they answer your questions? Why should they participate in a conversation in this needs discovery process? Because we only do stuff if we get something out of it. Yeah, human nature. So what's in it for me? You need to sell that. So here's an example. So Mr. Smith, this is part one. Do you mind if I ask some questions? Have a bit of a chat. Okay. Why? So that way I can, I suppose together with you, we can figure out, I suppose, what you need from this interaction today, or to give you what you want, or to find a solution. Yeah, tell them. This is the process. Discover needs to find a solution. Just tell them that. Use that language. So, Mr. Smith, I wouldn't mind asking a few questions, have a chat. So that way together we can work through, I suppose, the different options we've got, find the right solution for you today. Now, I'm pausing deliberately because I'm about to deliver number three. And number three is the kicker that makes it, I suppose, better than just another sort of stock standard statement or thing you say. And that is ask a question and elicit feedback from the customer, and to get them to say, yes, yeah, that's fine. So they're a willing participant. And this is all part of that process of asking questions, checking through the interaction, through the discovery process and beyond. Does this make sense? Is that okay? Is this working for you? Yeah, can you see what's in it for you? Does this give you what you're after? You constantly ask questions. This is where you start that process. And we haven't even gone into the discovery process yet. So management of expectations. Let's roll that together. The pause is critical just before that question at the end, and you can phrase that in different ways. So I'm going to give you a few more. So Ms. Smith, it's okay. We'll have a bit of chat. Ask you a few questions around, I suppose, what you've mentioned to me already, what you're looking to do. And then that way, together we can work out, I suppose, what you want from this call today. And I can give you what you need. How does that sound? Some other examples of questions at the end there would be, would that be okay? Is that all right? So a question where you stop and you wait and you pause for the customer to go, yeah, sure. Yeah, no worries at all. That's fine. Yeah, excellent. And often you do that well, the customer just starts telling you stuff and you don't even need to ask questions. So it's a very, very powerful thing to do when these three bits work together. There's another technique you can actually take, part number two, which is telling them what's in it for them, which is, so you can get a solution, get the information, get what you need. You can do that at the start and substitute part one with part two and flip it around, which works as equally as well. So you can really play with it. So Mr. Smith, in order to find out the right solution for you today, is it okay if I just ask you a few questions, have a bit of a chat? Would that be all right? So I've actually said, is it okay at the start? And I've also said a question at the end. You know what? But that's how people speak. It's normal, it's conversational, it's not a script. But critically at the end, it's like sitting there. That question is waiting for the customer to respond. And when you ask someone a question and there's a bit of trust there and rapport and they're focused on the conversation, it's impossible for someone to not give you an answer. So, and you want to be in control. And the one in control is the one asking questions. And this starts that process.